Everybody's talking to Paul. I hear every word they're saying on my laptop, on my phone. When life seems a constant battle, I tune into Earnest Prattle. It will brighten even your darkest day.
Hello, welcome to Earnest Prattle edition 18. Now, before we go on to the video, just a bit of housekeeping. Would you please be kind enough to like the video, subscribe, maybe leave a comment or share, any of those things? That would be absolutely amazing, thank you. And another little plea going out there to anybody that might want to appear on an Earnest Prattle video. You might have a kind of a strange hobby, you know, like, I don't know, hang gliding off the top of a fridge or something, or you might be part of an organisation that's interesting. You might want to promote that. Anything at all you might think that the people want to listen to, please give us a shout on the email address at the top of the screen, and we will hook up, have a chat, and hopefully you can be the star of the next Earnest Prattle. So just on to today's show. I've got another fantastic guest. I've got the local Bulwell Labour Councillor, Ethan Radford. So, roll VT. Hello, Ethan Radford. Thank you very much for coming on the old show. It's lovely to have you on. I believe you're our Bulwell area councillor for the Bulwell ward. Before we get on to that thing, Ethan, could you just give me a bit of background about yourself personally, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So I'm one of 3 councillors for Bulwell. It's not like members of Parliament where you have one for the entire area. There's 3 of us for Bulwell. Me, Jane Lakey, and Maria Joanna. The 3 of us were elected back in 2019 at the last local elections. And basically what we do is we represent Bulwell on the council. So there's 55 councillors across the city, 3 of those being us. And then on a regular basis, we represent residents in Bulwell at committee meetings, and throughout the week deal with things like casework. So if people have issues that they need to be dealt with for a council service, like a housing issue at Nottingham City Homes, or there's been some fly tipping or antisocial behaviour, they report it through to us. It's a wide range of stuff that we deal with, but you're certainly never bored.
I was going to say, in relation to being elected as a councillor, how do you go about applying to be a councillor in the first place?
So what happens is anyone can stand as a councillor in local elections. When it gets close to the local elections, basically just go on the council website. You can find out how to submit the applications and paperwork to be a councillor. What tends to happen though is, so I'm a councillor for the Labour Party. So when you're standing as to be a councillor for a political party, the party manages your paper applications. And what happens is when you get the ballot paper as a voter, you get the option of who to vote for. And obviously in elections, people tend to vote party political. So for Conservative or Labour. But you get a lot of independent candidates as well, people who aren't a member of a political party. I think, but personally speaking, I mean, like I say, I'm a Labour councillor, so I'm a Labour man. But I think there's a difference between local elections and parliamentary elections in the sense that me being a councillor, you've got a much smaller area to cover than a member of parliament has. So people know you're a bit more involved in things, because there's about 12,000 people in Boral that we represent, whereas a member of parliament can represent about 70, 80,000 people. So obviously it's harder to get around that many. But it's a bit different for local politics though, because you can, it depends on the person more than the party, then if anything else, more often than not. I mean, you could have a Labour councillor who's not very good. You could have a Conservative councillor who is very good, but it's about who can actually do the job and deliver.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Ethan, the way you came onto my radar was a friend of mine called Richard, who was having a drink with the other day. He said he'd seen you volunteering. I think he was litter picking or something or other locally.
It was, yeah.
And he mentioned to me what a fantastic bloke you are for getting your hands dirty and helping out the local, residents with regards to that particular. So I'd love to speak to somebody that, doesn't mind getting stuck in, putting the money where their mouth is, and leading by example. So how did you get involved with the volunteering stuff? Is that something you normally do as a councillor, or is it something you personally decided to do?
Well, before COVID, councillors would often sort of take part in litter picking and sort of days of action, but during COVID, we haven't really been able to do any of that. But when restrictions started to ease at the first part of 2021, we could start doing these things again. And in the city, there's a council scheme called Clean Champions, where people who live in the city sign up to volunteer to litter pick. And I think there's about 4,000 volunteers who do that in the city. And in Boral, there's about 130. So from about April this year, one of the things we noticed throughout the last year was littering and fly tipping was completely getting out of hand. It was just much worse than it had been in the past. And it was difficult for our members of staff and the council to actually be able to get around all the stuff that was being fly tipped and keep on top of other jobs that they were doing at the same time. So really what we started to do was, we knew that some people in Boral had volunteered as clean champions. So we had a chat with a few of them and said, look, that there's some particular places in Boral that really do need a bit of attention, bit of TLC.
You can say that again.
Yeah, quite. But our staff just don't have the time, to be frank, because there's only about between 6 and 10 members of staff who cover the whole of Boral for things like grass cutting, hedge trimming, weeding, litter picking, fly tip collection, you name it. And they're constantly working 24/7, breaking their backs. So they're really pushed. So what we basically started was just to, with people that we knew on Facebook mostly, is just organising some litter pick events. And since then, it sort of blew up from there. We do about 5 or 6 litter picks a month. We have 3 regular ones in Snake Wood, Crabtree and Boral Bogs, and then we do other ones in between. So I do a regular one on Leonard Street, which is there's a stream that runs down the side of Leonard Street, which goes into the River Leen, which is just completely covered and full of crap. So I just got hold of a pair of waders, put them on, met with a local resident who lives down there, and we just worked our way up the stream, just emptying all the stuff. And we got about 14 bags worth of rubbish.
It's amazing. You obviously don't mind getting your feet wet.
No, I don't mind getting my feet wet. My feet were dry most of the first time, although I've used the waders a few times now, and I think I must have cut my foot on some glass, because they do let in water now. But I thoroughly enjoy it. I like rolling the sleeves up and getting my hands dirty, because if we're expecting residents to do it, then we should be willing to do it as well and lead by example. But no, we've spent about 3 weeks, no, longer than that, 3 months rather, on that particular site on Leonard Street. My hope is to do the whole stretch of the stream there from top to bottom. But we do other places as well. We've done sort of Merchant, Minerva, Ragdale Road, Wingbourne Walk and Riseborough Walk.
Camberley Road. Merchant, so knock on next time you come past, I'll put kettle on.
Oh, I remember that, yeah. But no, really, so it went off from there, and since April we've kept a tally of how many people have come out and volunteered. I mean, the one we do at Boral Bogs, we get about 15 to 20 people there every time. And in the space of the last one we did in April, we've collected about 300 bags of litter. So it really does make a difference. People see you do it. People realise that residents are actually taking some care of the area they live in and sort of leading by example. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed just rolling my sleeves and getting on with it. Because to be honest with you,
a lot of public servants even get a bad rap, really. People tend to think of politicians, straight councillors, as lying, canoodling, backhanding, and all sorts of negative, ways to describe. But the things I heard about you personally they're positive and thinking it sounds like a bloke who doesn't mind getting stuck in and is one of the people. So this was why I really wanted to speak to you, because it's not every day you get feel good stories about the local councillors or politicians. It's normally some sort of
slagging us off.
Yeah, exactly. So when I heard you, I thought, you know what, I need to speak to Steve from Radford. He sounds like a truly nice bloke. So
oh, bless
in fact,
you.
You know what? I'm glad you got it. You're actually quite good looking in person, so I'm glad you got on. I'm not trying to get any favours with the council there, Ethan, by the way.
Pardon?
But I'm trying to get any favours in with the council there, Ethan. I've got no personal issues at the moment. I mean, talking of personal issues, how do people get to talk to you? Is it like surgeries you have or something, or how does the general public speak to you?
We used to hold surgeries before COVID at Riverside, but we had to stop doing that. But people contact us either by phone or email. I mean, if you Google Bulwell councillors, you'll find the contact details for the three of us. But most of my casework comes through on Facebook. Because before I was elected, I had a personal Facebook account, and then when I got elected, it became more of a work account. So I just use it mainly for work. But a lot of people just get in touch with me by social media. But in the space of a week, I'll probably have about 10 calls a day with people getting in touch, probably about 20 emails a week.
What's the most common request you get in relation to helping people out?
It's usually fly tipping. People reporting fly tipping in the area. It's usually a bin that's been missed from their bin collection, or a housing issue. So a repair case with the Nottingham City Homes or something like that. It really can vary. I mean, there's some cases that I've had ongoing for 2 years. There's some that lasts 2 days. It really varies.
What's the strangest thing you can remember everyone's ever asked you to do?
The strangest thing,
in your opinion? Do you get any weird requests sometimes?
You get a few weird requests. You get a few strange phone calls sometimes, and a few strange emails. I had one person ring me at midnight once, and it wasn't I answered it, but it wasn't an emergency, and I sort of had to say, "You realise you're ringing me about this at midnight," and just sort of put the phone down.
They weren't drunk at the time, were they? Potentially.
No, they weren't drunk. No, but that raises more questions than it answers. But,
yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult to say that. I think the point really is, if you think for you yourself how many people you're dealing with on a weekly basis, and how many people do you think you deal with on a weekly basis, Paul?
Me personally,
yeah.
In my line of work, probably, I don't know, 60, 70 maybe.
Right. So for me, it's probably about 100 a week. Some of them you speak to regularly. Some of them you see once and you'll never speak to again. But the point is, I'm accessible by about 10 to 12,000 people, and among that, there's going to be a lot of people with some very strange characteristics, and sometimes you have to you have to deal with people carefully, because you're dealing with general members of the public, and by and large everyone's sound. But there's some people who do have issues out there, and you have to sometimes pay them a bit more attention than others. But you do get the odd sort of case sometimes. I think one of the things that I do get, which is quite interesting, also a little frustrating, and it's a bit like what you were saying earlier about people do like to have a good dig at politicians.
Yeah.
I like being a councillor, but I don't like being a politician, because politicians usually get this thing of, oh, you're only in it for the money, and it's like, well, councillors get less than minimum wage, but it's you could be doing about 50 hours a week. Your weekends aren't really your own.
Do you supplement your council work with another job then, Ethan, or is it just your council work?
Well, I worked before I got elected. I had a part-time job in a school, but about 6 months after the elections, I didn't renew my contract because I just you couldn't find the time.
No.
You know, you're trying to do your job, and you know, you're getting calls in from residents, you're getting casework. You've got to find quite a lot of time to actually give to the committee meetings. I mean, some of the committee meetings can last for up to 5 hours, so that just wipes out a day right there. But it is quite hard. I mean, I live in Bulwell, so you know, it's the area that I represent, which is quite good. So you know,
Ditto, like you say, yeah, me too. Born and bred, Ethan.
I'm not born and I'm Baseford born and bred. We're not
Baseford born and bred.
Yeah, yeah.
I do like to go down to watch Baseford United football team.
Pardon?
I do like to pop down to Baseford United occasionally to watch the football.
I can't fault you for that. But no. So one of the things I find difficult sometimes is when you do get a person email you or ring you and they've got a problem and it's your fault. It's your personal fault.
Yeah,
you know,
usually,
I'm to blame for this.
that.
Yeah, and you know, you can accept that sometimes because 9 times out of 10 people are coming to you with a problem, and you know, a lot of what people want is just to be heard for the first few minutes or so and let them get out their annoyance and then deal with the problem and find a solution. But yeah, the most difficult and strange thing sometimes is probably when you just get sent an email in block capital letters with sort of, you've done this and you've done that, and you think, I've never met you before in my life. You know, I've not done anything to you, I promise.
Well, I work in customer service myself.
For things we haven't done, really. Pardon?
I work in customer service myself, so I've had a few of those emails over the years, or somebody just ranting at you for 20 minutes, swearing, and then you think, well, now you've calmed down, can you tell me what you really want, please?
Yeah.
I think sometimes you're just the point of attack. You're the face of the council, Ethan.
Well, this is the thing. So I don't complain about it because I put myself forward for it. But like I say, 9 times out of 10 when people get in touch with us, it's because there's a problem and something's gone wrong. And obviously when something's gone wrong and someone's encountered a problem, they're going to be a bit irate and quite frustrated. So it is a bit like customer service in the sense that when you pick up the phone, it's because something bad's happened and you've got to deal with it.
So you've been in your counselling work over the last 18 months or so, Ethan, under the old pandemic restrictions. So how's that changed things for you? How have you had to go about your duties? What's been new? What do you work from home now? I mean, how's it pan out?
Well, at the start of lockdown, everything was quiet for the first 3 weeks because there's a lot of meetings in the space of a month that you have to attend, but all of those quickly became virtual. But I think, strangely enough, the workload increased during COVID. I think a lot more people needed help. There was a lot more demand on your time, and it was extremely difficult working from home for such an intense period of time. Because of, you know, I remember at one point someone really summed it up quite well by saying, "You're not working from home; you're living at work." And that's really what it felt like, just constantly sort of at the desk in the study at home, just always answering the phone or on your iPad. And the thing is, before COVID, I would try and avoid working from home because I like a work-life separation. So I try and do most of my work at the council offices and then have the commute back because it's about half an hour to get to the city centre on the tram. And what I really missed during COVID was the commute. Because you just, when you work from home, you just find yourself starting that little bit earlier and finishing that little bit later. And before you realise it, you've done 8 till, you know,
I do exactly the same, Ethan. It kind of like moulds into one, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then you finish working and then there's no sort of, it's like, you know, when you work in an office, you've got the commute, you've got a period of time where you can just sort of have a bit of downtime and let your brain work things out, and then you get home and that's it. You get home, you get changed, you do, you know, you enjoy your evening. But so there was a lot less separation with that. Couldn't go to a lot of places. You know, couldn't do things like surgeries, couldn't speak to residents on the doorstep. There was a massive separation between us as councillors and residents. So we stayed in contact with people as best we could. You know, if we had the phone numbers for residents, just ring them every now and then just to check how they are. But the workload's increased, but things are, you know, it became the new normal after 6 months, and you just adapt to it. But, you know, I was thinking about it the other day. I think a year to 18 months is an extremely long time. I think people change during that time.
Yeah,
and I think you know, coming out of COVID and going into what we're going in now, I'd probably say I'm a different councillor than I was when I went into it.
So Monday's the this is probably a slightly political question, but Monday's the big, well, it's the big free day, isn't it? When all the COVID restrictions allegedly are dropped to some degree. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think it's too soon, or do you think it's now got to the point where it's either we do it or we're never going to do it?
Personally, I think it's too soon.
Yeah.
I think we've come this far.
Yes.
You know, 50% of the population's been vaccinated. We're getting on with the vaccinations. And I think that what is the harm in waiting another month or two?
Correct.
What is the harm? Because what I really struggle with personally is, I mean, I'm 24, I'm fit, I'm young, I'm healthy.
Don't rub it in Ethan, will you, for God's sake? I'm 51, fat and dropping to bits. Well, thank you anyway.
but you know, thinking about myself for a moment, I can get around on the tram. I wear my face mask. I'm not overly worried. If I get it, you know, I'm more than likely to survive it. I'm fortunate enough to know that, you know, no one in my immediate family or friends have died from it. I know people that have had it. But at the same time, what I think about is the people who've spent the last 14, 18 months imprisoned in their own house. You know, people with disabilities, people who are elderly.
I've got underlying health issues myself, Ethan. So doctor's orders. I spent most of the last 18 months stuck in these four walls.
Yeah.
And so from a mental health perspective, it's only doing things like this vlog where I get to speak to individuals face to face that's kind of saved it a little bit for me, because it's not the same. That contact with normal people in a normal environment is just, it feels alien now. It's just.
Well, this is why I think, you know, the last 12, 18 months have changed people really, because you become conditioned, and I think over lockdown we have become conditioned. It's like me and my partner recently just celebrated our anniversary.
Oh, congratulations to that.
Oh, thank you. And I said to her, "Oh, let's do something different. Let's have a takeaway."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, why don't we actually go out for dinner?" And I thought, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that anymore."
Is that a thing?
You can go out for dinner.
Yeah.
And you know, what really does it for me is that you know, like I say, I'm even after Monday, I'll still wear a mask when I'm out and about, because it's less for me.
Yeah, I think me too, especially public transport. That's the main thing.
But I worry for the people who don't have a choice, the people who, if they do catch COVID, are going to be worse off. And what you know, what I would really sort of think about is the fact that my nonna, who's in a care home, she hasn't been outside that care home since March 2020.
No.
And I just think to myself, you know, I want to be able to see her without having to talk to her through a window. And I think if it's a case of waiting another month, another 2 months, you know, we need to be a bit patient and sensible about this.
I mean, this is weird. I mean, I do my vlog, so what I try and do is, even it's difficult, I try and sit on the fence. I don't have an opinion either way if I can avoid it, because what happens is, especially when you're online, social media, you give an opinion either way. Next thing you know, they're all out in the hundreds and thousands, leaving you nasty comments.
And an opinion is a red rag to a bull.
Absolutely, yes. So, but I know you're a Labour councillor, and if I said my political background is probably, it's more blue than red, but I'm totally in agreement with what you're saying about, I think the opening up of everything is a little bit too soon. I would be more comfortable if they said, let's leave it for a few more weeks until a lot more of the population have actually had a double jab.
Yeah.
And then, you know, because what I feel is it's going to be like, a lot of the general public are sensible and have got common sense, but you're going to get that little, you know, section of the public who are 3 sheets to the wind and just bugger it. That's just go mad. So when they're opening nightclubs, you know, I don't know. It's just, asking for trouble in my
Well,
eyes.
I think the important question is asking yourself why are we so stuck on having it all opening on Monday?
Yeah.
And obviously, like I say, I'm
I
a
think
Labour man,
half of it, Ethan, is Boris Johnson's made a promise and he doesn't want to be seen to be doing a U-turn.
and that's exactly it. And I think, if the science was pointing to the fact that we probably should wait a little bit longer, rather than we've made a political promise and we're going to keep it, regardless of the cost.
Yes.
The cost could be more people dying, then fine, I'll wear a mask for a bit longer. I'll keep my distance for a bit longer, because even come Monday, once they start relaxing all the rules, because like I said, because we're all conditioned to a degree, it's part of your hardwiring now to think, I'm going to keep my distance from people. So I think the behaviour will probably still continue for a bit longer, but I do think, our decision to relax these rules should be based on fact and the current situation rather than what's popular.
So there you go, Ethan. Regardless of our political alliances, we talk common sense, brother. So in the future, if we're for free, we'll have to join up in the Earnest Prattle, Ethan Radford alliance and go as an independent couple. It's the EE team.
The EE team.
EE team. I swear we'll get loads of votes, Ethan. It's a no-brainer.
I'm sure.
But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up now and say it's an absolute pleasure talking to you, Ethan.
Thank you for having me.
And you are really a really nice bloke, so I'm glad my friend Richard put me on to you. And what's a norm with my vlogs is I normally get my guests to send a message and say hello to my mother.
Oh, okay.
My mother's name's Anne. So would you be kind enough to send a message out to my mum, please, Ethan, if that's okay?
I'm more than happy to. Hello, Anne. Hope you're doing well.
Thanks, Ethan. So thank you very much for your time today. Like I said, it's been amazing talking to you. Is it okay if I pop your contact details in the credits at the end of the video?
Yes, of course.
Marvellous. That's excellent. So thanks again for your time and all the best, Ethan. Thank you, brother.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
See you soon.